There we go. There we go. Perfect. Welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight. Hopefully, technology is working for me. Can you throw in the chat real quick that you can hear me, that everything is going well? Throw in the chat. Perfect. Thank you. Sam, you're the only one that I know on here. Everybody else is new to me. Thank you for joining. This is an exciting night for me. By the way, I knew this was going to happen. I keep looking to my right. The Zoom presentation is on a huge TV up there, so hopefully I don't keep looking at it. Maybe we'll just have to turn it off if I keep looking over there. But anyways, let's get started. This is a great night. I love doing these webinars, but they only work when we're interactive. So let's be sure to get in that chat, and let's get started real quick on the chat. Real quick, everybody, just type in 1 million for me real quick. Type in 1 million. 1 million is kind of our way of saying the light bulb just came on. If the light bulb's coming on, then we know that we're hitting buttons and we're doing what we need to be doing today. Awesome. Thank you. 1 million, 1 million. That is the light bulb. So if anything I say just really hits you home tonight, throw in a 1 million in the chat, and that'll help me know where we're at and what we're hitting. So to keep on going, let's keep in that chat for another minute. What brought you here tonight? What brought you here? Just one word, 2 words. What brought you in here tonight? Is the one word inheritance? Did you inherit a property that you need to figure out what to do with? Did you just buy a new rental? Did you just end up doing something that now you got to figure out where you're at, or you just had something fall apart and you're trying to figure out where to go from here? We'll definitely be talking about that. All right, awesome. Awesome. Some good reasons to be here tonight. Hopefully we'll answer some good questions. One more quick question to throw in the chat. What are you hoping to get out of this tonight? Is there some question that's burning on your mind that you're hoping that I answer? If there is, get that in the chat. We've got my buddy here, Alfred. He's manning the chat, and we'll be paying attention to that, and he'll be working with me towards the end to make sure that we answer those questions. All right, perfect. Moving on. Oh, one last question. What is the difference between rental property owner, housing provider, and landlord? 3 different terms. What's the difference? Anybody have any idea? Throw that in the chat if you got any idea. Any thoughts? What's the difference? Ownership? How hard consuming is it? How hard? Oh, that's back to the other thing. We're not, we'll get to that. Ownership. Well, actually, of those 3 different things, there is no difference. Landlord has become a pejorative. Landlord has become very negative. People hate their landlord. Landlords are horrible. Landlords are evil. So the industry has started to call them different things. A rental property owner, that's the term that you're going to see throughout any contracts or anything like that. You're typically going to see a rental property owner, RPO. I personally like housing provider. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit easier, but it also, who can be mad at the housing provider, right? He's the one that's putting the roof over your head. He's the one that, is protecting your family. Nobody can be mad at the housing provider. But those 3 things are, you'll hear me use those terms interchangeably here tonight. They mean the exact same thing. All right. Moving on. So our team, I am Richard Gibson. I am the Director of Residential Property Management here at WSR Real Estate. I have been doing property management for over 15 years. And a goodly portion of that, almost all of that, I have been the director of residential property management. I am a realtor. I'm a licensed real estate agent. All property managers in the state of California do have to be a licensed real estate agent. On top of that, all of our agents here at WSR are also realtors, or they are members of the National Association of Realtors. All right, on your screen. Oh, that is weird. I don't know. On that screen, my boss has disappeared, got up and walked away. Jeffrey Wolfslager is our broker, and his picture is not up on the screen, but it's on my screen. So that's kind of odd. But Jeffrey Wolfslager and Eric Ekstrom are the bosses. They're the owners here at WSR. We also have Rebecca Nelson and Anna Halabnica, who are excellent property managers here, as well as Alfred. Alfred Vilas is here in the room with me tonight. Cordell McDonald, Sarah Ortiz, and Jenny Wolfslager are all excellent property managers and realtors. We have about 8 property managers / realtors. We manage somewhere about 1,000 doors. If you include all of our HOAs, that jumps up significantly. However, the most important people here in the office are not those who go and get pretty pictures to put on their business cards. We had to sneak around and get candid pictures to get these up on your screen. But we got Connie, she's our receptionist. Awesome, awesome, kind lady. We've got Keena, who is our CFO office manager. And the most important people are back there in the accounting department. They're Joni, she's our controller, and Alex, who is her sidekick back there. So that is our staff. Great, excellent people. All make it possible for me to do this stuff like this here tonight. All right, so let me ask this. How are you feeling tonight? You concerned, you stressed out, intimidated, anxious, uncertain, not sure what to do, not sure where you're going? Hopefully we'll get some of that squared away a little bit. Hopefully we'll bring that anxiety down, and we'll get you some answers and ultimately get you on strong footing as a rental property owner. All right, real quick before I move on, let me see if there's anything in the chat that I need to respond to. Nope, I think we're okay. We'll leave Kristen's till the end, and we'll try and answer that for her. And we will go from there. All right, looking good. So how did we end up doing this webinar? I went to all of my clients and I asked them, what was the most important thing that they wish that they knew before they became a rental property owner? And there were some things that consistently came up, including insurance. There are lots of questions about insurance, lots of questions about emergency and emergency funds. Emotions, that was a big one that came up. How do we take our emotions out of being a rental owner? And then laws are a big issue. And then, of course, property management. We've got some good things going on here, some good answers that we'll provide, and hopefully put you on some good, strong footing to get going as you become a housing provider. If I do my job right, we will be done here within the next half an hour or so, and moving on to your questions and hopefully answer all of your questions that we can. All right, moving on. Insurance. If you have a mortgage, your mortgage company is going to require that you have insurance. However, they don't really know what you're doing with the property. Mortgage insurance that the mortgage company is going to require is different than what you will want to have as a landlord. So you definitely want to talk to your insurance provider. Let them know what you are doing and have them help you choose the proper insurance. But you have to have insurance. Must, must, must. That is a must insurance. Um, the proper insurance, of course, will have all the normal stuff. It'll have coverage for water and fire damage and all of that kind of stuff. But it will also include some workers' comp insurance, probably. And even better if it includes some lost income coverage. What lost income coverage is if you do have a covered loss, let's say a pipe breaks and floods you downstairs and they come in and fix that, or a fire or whatever that loss might be. They also will provide a certain amount of what the lost income was for that rent. Huge advantage, especially if you've got some problem with water damage. What, 3 years ago, I had one that the property went vacant. The property was in decent shape. The tenant had been there for quite a while, so we'd have to be doing some repairs. But turned off the water, the tenant turned off the water as they're moving out. I call to have the water turned on. The water company comes out, turns it on. They do their thing, and they're always really good about leaving it off at the street if there's any flow. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. Water flowing into the sink. The sink happened to have the plug in it. Water was going down. I didn't know that the water was flowing until the neighbor called me because there was problems. So the neighbor calls, and now we've got all sorts of water damage. Insurance company covered the repairs, covered all of that, plus some lost rent coverage so that the owner was not completely out during that longer vacancy than normal. So definitely want to make sure you have insurance and lost income coverage. Also, you just never know. Slip and falls. We're in California. People sue. It happens. Slip and falls are a big deal. Not too long ago, we had one of our agents here was doing an open house, and there was a lady that just took a tumble down the stairs. Doesn't make any sense. Fully nothing wrong with the stairs, but she took a tumble down the stairs. And before anything could happen, the daughter was there yelling about lawsuits and liability and all sorts of things. And we didn't know it, but that owner did not have insurance. Gotta have insurance. Must have insurance. And good insurance. Don't want to try and cut corners there. All right, perfect. Any questions about insurance? Let me back up before I go there. Any questions about insurance before I move on? Go ahead and throw that in the chat if you have any questions. All right, perfect. Emergencies absolutely do happen. It's kind of on the heels of insurance when you get emergencies. Not all emergencies are insurance-related emergencies. 90% of the time, a tenant tells us that the pipe broke, so we get it fixed before there is a major insurance claim. Most of the time, it's the water heater. Water heaters go bad. Water heaters go out. And no hot water, that is a habitability issue. So we definitely have to take care of those things. We cannot leave them without hot water. So how do we deal with that? You definitely want to make sure that you have an emergency fund. Emergency repairs do not happen when you feel like it, right? Some big things like roofs we plan for, big things like carpet we plan for, painting we plan for, all of those big expenses we can plan for, but a lot of things like water heaters we cannot plan for. So you gotta definitely have an emergency fund. On top of that, vacancies come, we do get notice, we get a 30-day notice, but 30 days when they're paying their last month's rent isn't enough time to scrounge up some emergency funds. because we know we're going to be without rent for a little while. Hopefully 15 days to a month, but that definitely could be up to a month or two, or depending on what's going on, it could be longer than that. But we'd like to see that closer to 2 weeks to 45 days on our turnarounds, which we do pretty good. But ACs, of course, ACs go bad. They go bad in the middle of the summer when it's 120 degrees out and everybody's AC is going bad. So we plan for some of these things, but having those emergency funds is essential. And of course, non-payment. Non-payment happens. It definitely happens. No matter what we do, tenants lose their job, car breaks down, child goes to the hospital, whatever. Things happen, and sometimes we get put on the back burner. So we do end up with times without rents paid. But as long as we're doing our job, we're on top of it. As long as the property owner is on top of it, we get through those times pretty good. All right, before moving on, we had a question here back about insurance. Can we review insurance? Absolutely. I would be more than happy to look at your insurance coverage. But at the end of tonight, there will be a link to a place that you can schedule a one-on-one with me, and we can definitely take a look at that. Not a problem at all. All right, moving on from emergencies. Any other thoughts, concerns about financial coverage for an emergency? Unfortunately, sometimes the rent just does not come in, and we got to be out there. That's why we're here. You're going to be at work. You got to be dealing with your own stuff. That's why we're here to go and take care of that. All right, emotions. This was a huge one. Huge, huge, huge. Emotions are a big deal. I have one client that I actually manage 6 units for now, 6 single-family homes. But for some reason, he held on to one. I was managing one unit, or was not managing one of his units. He was self-managing it. And for whatever reason, he became very close with that tenant. That tenant became a friend of his. And all of a sudden now he's over a year, not getting any rent. Finally brings that property to me, still won't let me do an eviction. But I keep working, keep pounding, keep pounding, keep pounding. Finally, we got that tenant out. And now he's short over a year in rent. And he's got literally the house was covered in 1.5 feet of belongings that got left behind, all because he got his emotions in, let his emotions come into it. We got to keep our emotions out. 0 emotions. This is a business. You got to run it like a business. You got to use business acumen. If you don't have that, then you got to bring somebody else in. If this property that you're thinking about getting rented out, if that is your forever home, or that is the home you're going to retire in, or if that's grandma's house, if that's your childhood home and you've got super emotions attached to that property, it may not be a good idea to rent it out. Or walk away and let it turn it over to somebody who does not have those emotional ties. You will have to do hard things as an investor, as a rental property owner. You will have to do hard things. The worst thing that I ever had to do years ago, it's probably been over 10 years. 10 years ago, I remember this, was the absolute worst thing that I ever had to do. We went through an eviction. Not necessarily a big deal, court, whatever, no big deal. We go into court, we win our case, we get our sheriff lockout, and the sheriff shows up to lock them out, and mom and dad have taken off. I don't know if they went to work, I don't know where they went, but they took off and left the kids with grandma home alone. That was horrible. Putting that grandma and those little kids out on the street. Well, the sheriff was there. That was the worst thing I've ever had to do. And unfortunately, I had to do it. There was no way around that. Luckily, sheriffs always give them 10, 15 minutes. They grab a handful of their stuff and they're out on the street. Then I take possession of the property. I start documenting the situation, condition, photos, all of that, just to document the condition. By the time I was done, mom and dad had shown back up and took the kids and grandma. But that was the worst thing. I'm not one that I talk a whole lot about my work with my mom, and I totally remember later that week I was sitting with my mom, and I was just done. I was about ready to be done as a property manager, but luckily that doesn't happen very often. We do have to do hard things. We might have to kick out a pet. We might have to kick out, you know, whatever the problem might be. They're not taking care of the property. The tenants aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. We have to do hard things. We cannot put a tenant in and walk away and see what happens. Almost always end up with a problem and ending up bringing in property management and a whole lot of loss as we are dealing with emotions. The tenant is not your friend. They are tenants for a reason. Unfortunately, they are. They are not going to be the same quality financially as a home buyer. So we do have to know that and keep on top of that. All right. Any thoughts, any concerns, any comments on that? Perfect. Moving on. Laws. This was another huge one that came up super consistently as we were talking with our clients, figuring out what they wish that they knew before they became rental property owners. Unfortunately, it's next to impossible to stay on top of the laws in some concise little booklet. However, that said, California Department of Real Estate does put together a little booklet. The last one I found is dated 2022. So of course things are different, but this booklet is called the California Tenants, a Guide to Residential Tenants and Landlords' Rights and Responsibilities. And Alfred's supposed to be putting a link in the chat, but he's freaking out. Something's happening over on his computer. So we'll get a link to that in the chat as soon as we can. But it's a cool little book. I refer to it every once in a while. Go back to it, see what it has some really cool examples. But it's next to impossible to keep a little booklet up to date. Just this year, we've had, I think there were 5 new laws at the beginning of the year. July, we had new deposit rules go into effect. Lots and lots of new laws. So they're constantly changing, but this is a cool little booklet that we'll get a link out to you as soon as we can and share that with you. On top of that, you'll definitely want to keep be a member of any groups or associations that help keep you on top of those laws. We here at WSR were members of the National Association of Realtors, as I've said. We are also members of the National Association of Residential Property Managers. We work with California Apartment Association. So all of these associations help us keep on top of those laws. I'm constantly hounding on my agents to be paying attention. Laws change constantly. One particular, well, we all know about the Tenant Protection Act of 2019. That's when all of those changes happened right with COVID. about when, how you can evict and ask people to leave and rent increases and stuff like that. During that exact time, with all that huge media attention that we had on that, there was another little law. There was another little law that nobody was paying attention to. I don't even remember how it came up on my radar, but they changed the notification, how long that they have to notify on a rent increase. That could have been disastrous if we were doing a rent increase that met that criteria and did not give the full 90 days. That could have been disastrous for one of our owners. So definitely got to stay on top of the laws. And Alfred did get in the chat a link to the California Tenants, a guide to residential tenants and landlords' rights and responsibilities. It is actually a pretty good book, balanced on both sides. Sometimes the tenants are responsible, sometimes the landlord's responsible. It is actually a pretty balanced book. I really do like that book, little pamphlet, booklet on there. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns about laws before I move on? All right, perfect. Now, of course, property management. I couldn't possibly have one of these without putting in property management, but you would be surprised at how many times that was brought up in our review. Now, you Google it. Can I manage my own property? Absolutely. Yes, you can. You definitely can do your own property management. It is not that difficult. I'm not that smart. I can do it. You can do it. However, it is a full-time job. It is a full-time job. I do not recommend, as you looking for a property manager, looking at any real estate agent that does a little property management on the side. It is a full-time job keeping up with this. Definitely, as you are considering what you want to do, you'll want to know how much time and effort you're going to put into it. If you're retired, great, that might work. If you got a full-time job, probably not. So how do you choose a property manager? Make some phone calls around, make some appointments, talk to them. There is definitely something to be said about how they answer your questions, how they interact with you. You are the client, that you have a fiduciary, or the property manager has a fiduciary responsibility to you, not to the tenant. You are the client. So how they interact with you is important. The tenant does have a reduced responsibility, and we do have to be honest and truthful and all of that kind of stuff, but we do not have a fiduciary responsibility to the tenant. We do have to balance that. We don't want a tenant that's mad and upset and damage your property either, right? So as you're interviewing, does that property manager have a good way about them? Do they have a good attitude? Are they taking care of your property? Are they taking care of the tenants? Definitely want to interview them. Talk to references, interview any references that they provide. Look at online reviews. WSR has a 4.6 rating. If you go on reviews, you can see that is definitely about as good as they get. You get reviews down in the 2s and 3s for property managers because of that fiduciary responsibility. I'm responsible to you, not to the tenant. The tenant gets mad, the tenant puts on a bad review. So that balancing act is a big deal. And the biggest problem that I see with self-managed properties, I believe I've already said this, is neglect. You got to be able to be there at the property. A property manager better be doing at least annually, be inside the property, multiple times a year, driving by the property. And if things don't look good, then they're back inside the property. So Property management, yes, you can do it yourself. Do you want to? That's up to you. Absolutely. We can help you talk through that. All right, perfect. Moving on, a quick recap. And we're ahead of schedule. Awesome. We'll keep going. Quick recap. Insurance. Insurance. Have insurance. Talk to your insurance agent. Make sure you have the right insurance. Emergency funds. Definitely need a few bucks in an emergency fund just in case the rent doesn't come in or their water heater goes bad. Something. Definitely need some emergency funds. And you got to keep your emotions out of it. If you can't keep your emotions out of it, you're going to make bad choices and bad decisions. Laws, very difficult to keep up on. Again, full-time job to keep up on those laws and keep those in place for you. Those laws could be a big deal if you are not up on those laws. And finally, property management. Highly recommend property management, but that's my job, right? That's what I'm here for. But on your screen is the exact email from one of my clients that I have been managing for probably going on 10 years. I've been managing for these guys. And you notice he talks about in number 1, he talks about hiring a trusted property manager. And number 4, again, he talks about hiring a specifically trusted property manager. So highly recommend property management. They will solve all of these other problems for you. All right. So that comes to the end of my information that I have to present to you. Hopefully this time was worthwhile. Was it worthwhile? Hopefully you can say yes. Are you feeling a little bit more confident, a little bit more interested in what you've got going on in your life? Did you learn something tonight? I hope those are all yeses. I hope you can move forward and do a more comprehensive analysis of where you're going next, which is the question. Do you still need a little more help from us? I hope so. I hope that you would like to spend a little more time with us and we can answer all of your questions. Spend a little more time with us and take care of those questions. So what's next? Here in just a second, we're going to open up for some Q&A. Definitely be getting those questions in. But Alfred's going to put a quick link in, and he has put that link in. You can click on, nope, that's not the right link. That's the Zoom link. But click on the link that he provides here in just a second and schedule a free one-on-one phone consultation with me. I will be more than happy to answer all your questions and help guide you to what is next. Whether that is property management, whether that's self-management, maybe it's time to get rid of the property. I don't know until we talk. Highly, oh, what the heck happened there? Picture disappeared. Anyways, doesn't matter.
I still see it.
No. That where the logo is right there, that is supposed to be a $500 gift card. Not that it matters. Well, if you schedule a quick call with me, we'll discount $500 off of any of the services that you ask of us. All right, perfect. Let's take a quick look. Anything happening in the chat?
There's a question at the beginning.
A question up at the beginning. We had a question about how hard or time consuming is it to be a landlord? Not sure if I should rent it out or just move in myself. Well, I'd be more than happy to have a more specific one-on-one with you and help you figure that out. But like we said, being a landlord is a full-time job unless you bring in a property manager to do that for you. I'd be more than happy to sit down and review rents and figure out where that works. If I think I can get you a better rent, if I think I can get you increase your return on your investment, absolutely. But no, being a landlord is not the easiest thing in the world. Although on the other hand, I do manage property for people all over the country. I have owners literally all over the country, South Dakota, the Carolinas, definitely all over California. They don't want anything to do with their properties. We take care of it, and we take care of it well. All right, we get a lot of questions about evictions. Yes, definitely. Unfortunately, we deal with evictions. I've had, what, in 15 years, maybe 10 evictions that I've had to deal with. But it's not nearly as bad or big of a deal as a lot of people make it sound. Because we're doing our job, we're on top of it. We are there and reviewing, checking things out, making sure that these people have good credit. These people have good rental history. They don't want to screw up their credit. They don't want to screw things up. So we have some good leverage to get them out before we actually have to go to an eviction. All right. Perfect. Definitely. Any questions? I would be more than happy to answer them. Sign up for a free one-on-one phone consultation, phone call, and I will answer those questions. Also, get a lot of questions about pets. Alfred, chime in here. What's your opinion on accepting pets? Speak up.
I'll speak up.
Yeah.
That's a tough call because if they have carpet, then pets tend to leave an odor. And then when the tenant moves out, we have to charge them for that, and they're not happy about it. But they have to go in knowing that they're responsible for any damage, period. And having a pet in the home can create damage, even if it's just odor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my opinion was, for years, my opinion was no pets. Cats ruin wood. Absolutely. Yes, they do. Cats, dogs, toenails scratch up, floors tear up. However, you're leaving money on the table if you don't accept pets.
Correct.
You can accept, especially now with new laws. Accepting a pet, you cannot accept. Depends. There are a lot of exceptions to this. But the new deposit laws, you may not be able to accept a rent or a pet deposit. However, if you have a pet, you can charge an extra $25, $50, $75 a month in pet rent. So you're leaving money on the table if you don't accept pets. But yes, they can most definitely do damage. But that's definitely another thing that we discuss with every one of our landlords to figure out how they want to handle that. But I 100% believe you're leaving money on the table if you don't accept pets, especially since all of these tenants know that all they have to do is say, oh, it's an emotional support animal. And now I can't charge rent, I can't charge deposit, I can't do anything, I can't decline them because of the emotional support animal. So if you just leave that on the table, that you do accept pets, you can charge them and, not leave any money on the table. Another question that we get a lot is, should I accept Section 8? California law does not allow you to say no. You must accept Section 8. You cannot decline somebody based on income, source of income. Section 8, you must accept Section 8. A lot of people don't like that. But quite honestly, it's not that big of a deal. We work with it. We work with the housing authority. We work with the bodies that govern that. and so that we can make sure that you're getting the rent and your house is being taken care of. Can you collect pet rent even if it's an emotional support pet? No. As soon as they say it's an emotional support animal, we can't do anything extra. You can't decline them. You can't, or you can't decline them for the pet. You can't accept additional rent or deposit. However, I am a firm believer that the vast majority of emotional support animals are not emotional support animals. So if you just give the applicant the opportunity to be honest up front, you're probably going to end up getting the truth and then being able to charge that rent. Yeah, like Alfred says, get a letter from the doctor, but getting a prescription for emotional support animal is so easy, not difficult at all. Can I raise the rent? Well, that depends on the scenario. Again, if you have a scenario that you'd like to discuss with me, I'd be more than happy to answer that specifically one-on-one. But yes, you can raise the rent depending on the lease scenario. Most of the time, property owners want me to get a year lease. All the time, my real estate attorney tells me never do a lease. My mold between the two then is I typically do a 1-year lease up front, let that lease expire into a month-to-month. Once they've been there a year, they're probably not moving out. They just spent all that money moving in. They're probably not moving out at that 1-year mark or the 13-month mark or the 16-month mark, right? So always let it expire, and then you can do a rent increase. I always am looking, every October, I am doing my evaluations for a January 1st rent increase. Others here in the office do it differently, but we are always trying to maximize that profit for you. That is, again, that is our responsibility to maximize that profit for you. All right, perfect. Again, highly recommend schedule an appointment with me. Click on that link in the in the chat there, and that will put you right to a page that looks like this, where you can select a time. It looks right into my calendar, and I will give you a call at that time that you choose. Do you guys handle property outside of the US? No, I do not handle anything outside the US right now. I'd be happy to look more into that for you. But here in the United States, you have to be licensed with the Department of Real Estate. So I would have to look at depending on where the property is. But I don't have any people around. You could do it just as good being, if you're out of town. See, that's when you really need somebody local. Got to have somebody there. I can't drive by a property outside of the US. I can't do an annual inspection outside the US. But yes, I'd be more than happy to have a phone or a conversation with you, Sam, and we will go from there. All right, perfect. Any other questions? Any other questions? Be more than happy to sit down with you at any time. Again, that link gets you right into my calendar, and we will go from there. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me know if I can do anything for you over the next 24 hours. You will get that link in your emails and texts and stuff like that, all automated. So we will see you soon. Thank you. Have a good night.